Mars and especially Mercury in the Gandanta and Rahu in the Gandanta, closing on Chiron, and Ketu in Virgo, it's so appropriate that Neptune comes up next in my priority list. I'd highlight Neptune next. Now Neptune starts 2024 at 1 degree Pisces. Neptune actually went direct on the 6th of December 23. The energy for vision work is growing stronger. I feel the calling of it more and more. Now is such a good time to do vision work. Vision work can bring such helpful, life-lasting gifts. It really does help. I have a postgraduate degree in psychology, so I learned, all about, Freudianism and Jungianism and the shadow. But, of course, the psychology was so much a formula. And my lecturers, when I did my degree back in the early 70s, just so sneered at, shamanic or visionary work. But it's them that's wrong. So now is such a good time to do vision work. Mercury's in the Gandanta for the first half of January. Rahu and Chiron in Pisces, converging. It's all good. And indeed, note that Mercury is square Neptune at the beginning of the month. In fact, also, Venus is square Neptune from roughly the 14th to the 20th. And that Venus-Neptune energy encompasses and includes the absolute ideal of love. It's a wonderful combination. Of course, negatively it can lead us to illusion, but it's such a gift when experienced positively. And certainly shamanic healings can go well at this time. I've started receiving quite a few bookings, people picking up on the energies. I love doing removing shamanic intrusion work. Imagine that you have utterly negative experiences embedded into you, like thorns embedded into you. And, there's a method of jumping to the realization of what those embedded thorns or negative experiences are, and of pulling them out and removing them. I've done some wonderful find your angel, connect to your angel journeys, and of course find your power animal, and that's powerful too. Also within the area of vision work, I do teach the spirituality of the ancient Norse and the spirituality of the ancient Irish as well. And I think that's because my birth mother's ancestry comes from the Galway coast of Connemara in the utterly beautiful west of Ireland, really remote. And indeed, my father's ancestry comes from the southern Baltic, and before that, from the Arctic sea coast of Russia. So see my Druid Forest School website, Druid Forest School. It can be so healing and empowering to meet the deities of our ancient ancestors and the deities of many former cultures like the ancient Greeks and the Minoans. And of course the Hindu deities are wonderful. And each of the planets in Vedic astrology is a face of the divine. And I bring that into my readings. And of course underlying them all is the shamanic sense of the divine. And I remember reading Joseph Campbell's, I think it's called something like The Spirituality of the Primitive Hunter-Gatherers. And at the start of it, he makes the statement that humans manifested their impressions of divine energies through animals. And indeed, animals do manifest different faces of the divine. And obviously, if you look at, say, the Egyptian pantheon, and indeed the Vedic pantheon, there are so many divine animal energies there. Okay, the time has come to mention Saturn. Saturn transits from 9 to 12 degrees Aquarius in 2024 in Shatabhishak Nakshatra, which has quite a healing energy. Saturn transits in Aquarius all year, and it's one of the two signs that Saturn rules, the other one of course being Capricorn. Saturn is thus a powerful, inescapable energy in your life all January, all 2024 as well. And Saturn, of course, aspects any planets that you might have in Vedic Aquarius. It conjuncts them, but also Leo opposing them. And additionally, although not so critically, Aries, Sagittarius, Scorpio and Taurus. And do check out where Western aspect systems reveal that Saturn is casting an aspect on a planet or asteroid of yours. Check out if Saturn is doing this. What is the basic energy of that planet? How does it manifest in your particular birth chart? And how does the implacable Saturn energy alter the way that planet must manifest? Check out, of course, which house your planet is in that Saturn is aspecting, and check out which life area, what areas of your life will therefore be affected by Saturn at the time of that transit, that transiting aspectation. And check out as well if you have one of your planets in a Saturn-ruled nakshatra, because it'll make a big difference to that planet, and you need to know that, and you need to know what to look for. You see, Saturn is Lord of Karma. Saturn makes key demands on us from before we're born, because our higher self chooses our life path, fate and destiny, in fact based on the karmas we built up, good and bad, in our previous lives. And of course Saturn continues to make key demands all through our life, including in utero before we're born. Now if we don't meet Saturn's huge karmic demands on us personally, if we don't even know what they are, well then we suffer. We're getting our life wrong, and that causes us suffering. It's us that's doing it, not Saturn. The divine purpose of the suffering we feel is to alert us to the fact that we're behaving wrongly, or walking the wrong path from our life purpose and destiny, or living according to a wrong sense of who we are. And of course this manifests big time at the time of Saturn return and Sade Sate, the 7.5-year period when Saturn transits across your natal moon. The simple model of Sade Sate is Saturn transiting through the sign before your moon, the sign of your moon, and the sign after your moon. But the more accurate model is to use the nakshatras either side of Saturn to calculate the start and end and phases of your Sade Sate period. And it's so important to know what they are, to know what to expect. So do get a reading from me if you're approaching or in Sade Sate. And basically, we humans will grope towards a better realization of what it is that Saturn demands of us. And then, if we're diligent and hard-working about our karmic tasks and our karmic demands in this life, what will happen? Well, we'll experience better strength, purpose, perception, dignity and peace. In fact, we'll receive rewards of golden reaping, which is the gift of Saturn, Lord Shani, Lord of Karma. Get and understand your karmas and life scripts reading from me, or one of the many other readings on my Star Wheel Astrology website. Right, let's go on to look at the Sun in January 2024. Well, Sun moves from 16 Sagittarius at the start of the month and enters Capricorn mid-month on the 15th of January and ends January at 16 degrees Capricorn. And do note that the Sun in Sagittarius, which is quite spiritual and expansive, with optimism and sense of purpose, has a couple of powerful extra dimensions in January. Sun is square the nodal axis in the heavens exact on the 11th of January. So we'll feel a fate and destiny energy pervading the manifestation of the Sun either side of that. Sun and Pluto are exact on the 20th of January. Tap into the power energy that is running then and around then. Okay, let's look at the moon. Well, the new moon is on the 11th of January in Sligo, Ireland, and Sun and Moon are at 26 Sagittarius in Purvashada Nakshatra. So do look out for my blog post and video on the new moon of 11th of January. That's the date here in Ireland. The full moon is on the 25th of January here in Ireland. Moon is in Cancer, the sign it rules, in Pushyami Nakshatra. Sun is at 11 Capricorn in Shravana Nakshatra. Again, look out for my blog post and video about the full moon on the 25th of January here in Ireland. Important note, whenever the moon transits over Ketu, the south node in the heavens, be aware. Use the energy to increase your spiritual insights and intuitions. It happens twice in January. Do watch out for the days around the dates of January the 2nd and January the 30th. These are the two dates in January 24 when the moon transits across Ketu south node in the heavens. You'll likely feel very sensitive and emotional with mood swings. It's so helpful to know why you're happening. It's because of the transit, but deeper than that, it's a call to increase your spiritual insights, your spiritual management of your moods and feelings, and grow your intuitions. Venus. Well, Venus starts the month at 9 Scorpio in Anuradha Nakshatra. Venus enters Jyesta Nakshatra on the 8th of January, that's 17 degrees Scorpio. And Venus enters the Gandanta on the 17th of January. Gandanta Venus. People who have Venus Gandanta in their birth charts can experience or reach for the utter perfection of love. And of course, if it's at the end of the water sign, it's most likely their Atmakarika, their planet of highest longitude. And our Atmakarika planet is said to be what we got wrong in past life and what we must specially work at to get right in this life. So Venus Atmakarika people often have a rail crash life in terms of love issues, but they have the capacity to ongoingly better and better perceive the nature of love and embrace and manifest it. Venus leaves the Gandanta on the 21st of January and enters Purvashada Nakshatra, one of the 3 nakshatras it rules, on the 29th of January. So that will be a very Venusian time while Venus is in Purvashada. Note, by the way, that Venus starts January receiving a square aspect from Saturn. Be aware at the start of January, Saturn square Venus can curb Venus's loving expression, its ways of showing love. It can shut those down. That's what Saturn can do to Venus. Not always, the two can work together, but often Saturn trashes Venus. And that square is weakening by January the 8th. Note also that Venus moves into a square to dark moon Lilith on the 5th of January. That's the exact date, as it were. So the contents of our often unacknowledged shadow side and unconscious, particularly as relating to Venus, love issues, may sort of rise in us, and and they're coming from our unconscious, coming from areas we deny, coming from areas which often drive our life, but we don't know they're there and we say they're not there. We have a task in this life to delve into our unconscious and our shadow and bring matter to the light. For healing, if it needs healing, to touch and gain and manifest the power, if it's a case of buried power, something that we weren't allowed as a little kid by our parents, teachers, priests or whatever. So our powerful side was stuffed down into our shadow and unconscious. And when it's activated, like Venus squaring Lilith, parts of us that could be really good, to do with love and sexuality, wealth and value issues, could all bubble up in that period around the 5th of January. And having been told this, we can look out for it, not just ignore it and say, oh, I wonder why that's happening, I might as well forget it. No, we have to investigate our unconscious and our shadow. So, Venus, of course, is transiting in Scorpio at that time, and Venus in Scorpio is difficult, it's passionate and expressive, but it's fraught with conflict. It's complicated, it's possessive, jealous and intense. But maybe hearing and noticing this, we can grow spiritually through this energy of this transit of Venus through Scorpio, and thus gain needed spiritual enhancement. When Venus leaves Scorpio, Venus enters Sagittarius, and Venus in Sagittarius is a very different energy. It's on the 19th of January that Venus enters Sagittarius. Venus in Sagittarius is romantic, expansive, soothing and visionary, but it can be very pleasure demanding and can be self-justifying or even imperious, particularly in Purvashada. Important to note that Venus moves into a square to Neptune starting around the 14th of January and exact on the 19th of January and ending around the 24th of January. That's Venus square Neptune. And the Venus-Neptune combination energy can encompass the utter ideal in love. Yeah, and I can tell you, I've actually got that as an unaspected sub-personality in my chart. And it was a real eye-opener for me that when a colleague told me that that was the love my mother had for my father. And although he didn't want to know us when he was told she was pregnant, she continued with that love of Venus Neptune, and it's in me. So I'm just showing you how really important it is to study this stuff. Okay, so in the blog post, it goes on with a summary timetable of planet movements in January 2024. And what I'd like to say to you is, please do get a reading from me. Go to my Star Wheel Astrology website to book a reading. I also run Love Star Dating, a spiritual dating site for those who are on a spiritual pathway and who seek love. My wife, Maggie Pashley, has been doing so many healing modalities for so many years and does them all worldwide, using Zoom. And have a look at her website, www.maggiepashley.com, and see if any of those can help. As I say, I do shamanic and healing modalities. They're mainly listed on my Druid Forest School website. So subscribe to my blog, subscribe to my YouTube, and to see the Western and Vedic charts for January 2024, go to the January 2024 page on my Star Wheel Astrology website. As I said, it's under the More drop down. So this has been detailed stuff. I felt quite passionate about it. May the detail be useful to you. May knowledge of the dates be useful to you. May you make January a passionate, intuitively, powerfully based, healing and empowering experience, and at the same time honouring the unavoidable karmic demands upon you, expressed perhaps particularly by Saturn. Okay, thanks very much.